The Atlanta Falcons are coming off another losing season, finishing with a record of 7-10 and actually haven't had a positive record since 2017. With that being said, the Falcons had enough and they were ready to take the next step to get over that hump. Now, the good news is Atlanta did everything that they could to make sure that this team was ready to be a better football team heading into the 2023 NFL season. That includes bringing in 11 potential new starters, which is unbelievable. Now, last season, the Falcons were one of the worst defenses in all of football, struggling to stop both the run and the passing attack. However, their front office did an amazing job completely overhauling this defense, adding guys like Calais Campbell, Jesse Bates, David Onyemata, Bud Dupree, Caden Ellis, and Jeff Okudah, as well as a couple of other guys as well. Now, with that being said, the Falcons probably had one of the most efficient off seasons or free agent periods that I have ever seen, and they also killed the draft as well. In this video, I'll be breaking down the entire Falcons draft class and what they will bring to this team next season, as well as why the Falcons can shock the world next year. However, before we jump into the video, make sure you guys smash that like button. It helps out the channel so much. So let's see if you guys can get up to 400 likes. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will be covering the Falcons and the rest of the NFL all year long. So join the family. This is the place to be. One last thing, comment down below, who do you think is going to be the biggest sleeper in this year's draft class for the Falcons? Comment down below what you guys think. But without any further ado, let's jump right into today's video. So coming into the draft, the Falcons did an amazing job making sure they didn't have, too many holes on the roster, and they were actually only at a few positions of need going into the draft. Those include defensive back, edge rusher, and or edge rush youth. They had a bunch of good edge rushers, but they needed to bring in some young guys, and they did that, as well as getting some offensive linemen as well. I think that was another need that they wanted to do. And hey, the good news is the Falcons actually killed this draft, adding 3 potential starters and a couple of guys who have very solid ceilings as well. Now, the fact that they got to work right away in free agency and, plugged out so many positions of need, they brought in guys who could be starters. They had a lot of room to just go out and do what they wanted, here in the first round. Now, they did that by drafting an electrifying player, one of the most electrifying players on the board in BIJAN Robinson. Now, I understand that this was not what the Falcons fans necessarily wanted with their first overall selection. They wanted to add defense, but, listen. BIJAN Robinson is a different breed. He is a game-changing player and will immediately change the whole dynamic of this team going forward. BIJAN is a 5'11", 215-pound running back out of Texas that has solid size, unbelievable physicality, and the ability to be a workhorse right away at the next level. When I watch his tape, BIJAN runs the football with patience. He's an instinctive runner with elite control in between tight spaces and can turn any play into a big one. Not only is he going to be one of the most elite ball carriers in the league right away, but he is going to be a major threat in the receiving game as well. Just a different breed. And the Falcons get him here in the first round, and they'll have him for a very long time, potentially the next big-time running back in the NFL. Now, with their next pick, they selected a guy in Matthew BERGERON, an offensive guard who should step up right away and be a day-one starter for this team going forward. Now, the reason I love this pick the most is because not only will this help the young quarterback Desmond Ridder get more time in the pocket, but it will also help this young running back and BIJAN Robinson, get some more spaces, get some more holes open up for him. So I love this pick as well. Coming into the draft, BERGERON was actually graded as having one of the highest ceilings as an offensive lineman in the entire draft class. He possesses elite athleticism, power, and amazing physicality, standing at 6'5", 320 pounds. I give this pickup an A+ as an immediate upgrade, and just like that, the Falcons bring in 2 day-one starters to start off this draft. Now, in the third round, the Falcons' main goal was to get younger edge rushers. Like we said earlier, they needed to add some youth at the edge position, and they did that right here. But you know what? The good thing about this pick was they added a bunch of guys in free agency that aren't necessarily young. You got guys like Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, Eddie Goldman, some other guys as well. But this guy, Zach Harrison, is a edge rusher out of Ohio State, and I love this addition, man. He is young. He's got potential, upside. He could be a phenomenal player with some development. Now, like I said, he has all the potential in the world at his position. His upside made him so valuable in this draft. But like I said, he needs development. He needs mentorship. But it's perfect because, like I said before, Calais Campbell, they got Grady Jarrett, Bud Dupree, Caden Ellis. You got Lorenzo Carter. I mean, all of these guys will be able to help mold him into being a very solid player in a couple of years. At 6'5", 270 pounds, with rare athletic ability, Zach Harrison will provide, depth as a nice rotational piece now, but more importantly, a future starter down the line. He will bring elite explosiveness, a competitor, and overall pure power to this Atlanta Falcons team. Now, in the 4th round of this draft, the Falcons wanted to go and add another big-time player, and they got a steal in defensive back Clark Phillips out of Utah. Now, Phillips is most likely going to be a day one starter out the gate at the nickel spot. And to find a guy like this in the 4th round is truly incredible. Clark is a little bit undersized at 5'9", 180 pounds, but possesses amazing ball skills, reads the quarterback's eyes so well, and has quick reaction times. He actually had 9 interceptions and brought home 4 of those for touchdowns in his collegiate career at Utah. Now, before we finish off these last 2 selections here for the Falcons, make sure you guys do me a favor, smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Join the family. I will be covering all of the offseason, so join the family. But let's get back into the video. Now, the Falcons' last 2 draft picks, they just wanted to come out here and add some more draft and potential to this roster, and they did that. Firstly, by drafting DeMarco Hellams. Now, DeMarco is straight out of Alabama, where he had a very solid year. In my opinion, he adds a great tackling ability and should provide, or should be given, the ability to, or the opportunity to play on special teams right away. He's a gifted tackler who would thrive as a gunner with his fearless instincts. I don't think he'll have a big day one role on this team, but with some development, I do think he can carve out a solid role on this team going forward. But I do think he should provide being a day one gunner for this team at the very least. I think his tackling ability, should put him on the field, man. He should be able to be on the field right away. Now, lastly, the Falcons added some more depth with an offensive lineman, drafting Javon Gwynn out of South Carolina. Obviously, adding some offensive line late in the draft never hurts. Always the possibility that they bloom into a solid player at some point of their career. And at South Carolina, Javon was one of the strongest players on the team, and he was a leader. At the very least, the Falcons add a nice depth piece, but the best case scenario, he could be a future starter for this team in a couple of seasons. Overall, I give this Falcons draft an A+, or an A, but the overall offseason, I give them an A+. I believe this team has the capability to be one of the most improved teams in 2023, and the front office did an amazing job rebuilding this team. I mean, just look at the roster. At wide receiver, they could have done more to add some more talent, to add some more guys, but there's still guys available in free agency that they could pick up. For example, or not for example, but let's look at the roster. You got Drake London. They bring in Matt Collins from Las Vegas. They also got Scotty Miller, who could be a nice little slot receiver for them. And then behind them, there's not really too much that I love. You got Kadera Hodge, which is probably your wide receiver 4. You got Jared Bernhardt. You got Penny Hart coming over from Seattle. Frank Darby, the former 6th-round pick. And then a couple of undrafted free agents from last year and the year before that. So let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think is going to be the major X factor other than Drake London on this team at wide receiver? Let me know what you guys think. At offensive line, you got Jake Matthews. You got the 2nd-round pick in Matthew Bergeron. Like I said, could be a day one starter. You got Drew Dahlman, Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry, and then at tight end, Kyle Pitts, the former 1st-round pick. You got Jonnu Smith coming over from New England. He should be play a major role on this team in his 2 tight end sets, maybe even play a little wide receiver as well. You got Desmond Ritter, Taylor Heineke, who should be a solid backup for them, but Ritter, look for him to have a breakout year this year as a former 3rd-round pick. You bring in BIJAN Robinson, still got Cordero Patterson. I mean, this running back group looks very good as well with Tyler, Cordero, BIJAN. I mean, it's looking stacked. And then moving to the defense. This is where the team was probably the most efficient, or the most where they targeted the most in the free agency period, you got Calais Campbell coming over from Baltimore, David Onyemata coming over from a division rival in the Saints. You bring in Eddie Goldman from Chicago. Grady Jarrett, the former 5th-round pick, is an amazing defensive tackle. You got Bud Dupree coming over from Tennessee. You draft Zach Harrison. You got Kane Ellis coming over from the Saints. Troy Anderson, Lorenzo Carter, who's coming over from the Giants, A.J. Terrell, Richie Grant, Jesse Bates coming over from Cincinnati, Jeff Okudah, who they traded for, only a late-round pick. They got him. I think that's going to be a steal due to, he's a former first-round pick, so he could have amazing potential. You got a starter in Clark Phillips. You got D. Alford. You got Mike Hughes coming over from Detroit. DeMarco Hellams. I mean, dude, there's talent all over this roster. And I really do believe that this Falcons team possesses the talent and the skill set to become one of the best teams in the division, if not a playoff team next year. Hit that like button, guys. Subscribe if you're new. Join the family. That's all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.